I'm teaching my son, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, yes, sir, yes, sir. Open the door. And he's not married. He's too young to be. I think it's how you were raised. I'm not teaching him, oh, you only open the door for your wife. You only carry a bag for your wife. No, no. That's a moral, that's morally, that's how the way that I want to raise him, to be a gentleman. In spite of hoochie mama ratchetness, you still be a gentleman. You are a gentleman. That's what
Can I
you
ask
do.
you a question?
Yes.
If you had a daughter, would you tell her to for potential dates or potential things, would you tell her to cook for that man? Would you tell her to clean for that man? Would you tell her traditional roles that men expect out of women? Or are you only doing that to your son to to be a gentleman to women? But would you teach the same roles for your daughter to be a woman or a potential wife to a man?
Absolutely. I would teach her to be a virtuous woman. I would teach her not to be showing all of her body. But I would say to her, now, you're not doing, now, wait a minute now. It's okay to cook a meal every now and then, but you're not washing his laundry. You're not cleaning this house. You're not doing those things. That's not, no. You are
So
dating.
why would you tell your daughter to hold back some marital
You're
duties, and you're not telling your son to hold back those
Well,
marital duties?
I think you're confusing the difference between a man operating from his moral fiber, his character, be respectful gentleman. I'm not going to have, if I had a daughter, I'm not telling her, you need to drop it when it's hot. You need to have sex with him. You need to be going over his house cooking. No, I'm not teaching my daughter doing.
So
And
where's the moral
neither am
fiber
I
and
teaching my
standard that you would,
that
what are the moral fibers and standards you would teach your daughter then? I mean,
First
it,
of all, if I had a daughter, she would definitely know how to cook. Number two, she would definitely know how to keep a house clean. That's it. My son knows how to do that. So it doesn't. It's not about teaching a girl to not cook and clean and be respectful. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that there are too many of us doing those wifey things, and then we are invested in that relationship, and we wake up and the man doesn't marry you, or you realize that's not the man that you want to be with after you invest. Don't do those types of things.
Mhm.
I said initially that we spend so much time talking about let's go out to get something to eat, and then during the whole time of that date, the man is either on the phone or the woman's on the phone. We don't do things that will allow us to get to really know who we are. I
Okay.
mean, we don't do those things anymore. We think going out to dinner and spending $500 and $600 and maybe even $200 on a meal is a date. That's like, I mean, hell, I can do that. I want to know who you are.
Right. What have you taught your son to save for marriage?
Sex.
Okay.
I told him he doesn't want to, because I told him that sex is a spiritual connection between a man and a woman, and he probably, as he gets older, he will probably get the heat about being a virgin and all that other crap. But I told him that that's special, and you
Is
don't
that
want to
it?
get. Yeah, and I also told him that you don't want to be betting women, a whole bunch of women, breaking hearts, bringing babies into the world, and you're not married, because I think that that's something that that neither the male or the female should be doing, quite frankly. If I had to do it all over again, I would do it differently.
Okay. So basically you taught your son uh premarital sex and relations is the one thing that you should not do prior to marriage. If you had a daughter, would you what would you tell her to not do until marriage?
Why are you running? Why are you sleeping with a bunch of men? What does that prove? What is that going to prove?
Mm. You talking about your daughter?
Yeah, I mean, it's both. It's not telling my son, yeah, get as many women as you want, and I tell my daughter, no, no. It's both, male or female, both. Because to me, it's about morals and values. We believe in God in my household. Let me just put it out there. And so it's about morals and values, and that's how I'm raising my son. And if I had a daughter, it would be the same way. As a matter of fact, that's how my mother raised me. But I chose my own path. So it's, hindsight is 2020. When you get older, you look back, you say, whoa, wait, I should have listened. I mean, it's not like my life turned out bad. It did not. But it's like, I understand the reasons why sex before marriage can become very challenging for young men and young women. And we've seen it in so many movies. There's a thin line, a thin line between love and hate. Why did I get married? Why? We see all of that when you engage in an act that's very spiritual, that should be with someone that you are connected to. It creates a lot of confusion. We know that when you talked about arranged marriages are exactly that in India. They're not having sex before marriage that we know of. And it's like, because it gives you an opportunity to get to know your partner, to get to know the person that you said that you want to spend, your journey with in this thing called life. And I think that's where we make the mistake. And we think that having sex with a man or having sex with a woman constitutes love, and it does not. That's just one.
Who thinks that, men or women or both?
I think both. I think you have both that think that it constitutes love. I mean, our society teaches men the more women you bed, the more notches you have on your belt. But I think it also teaches that, that's a part of love, and it's not. It's not. That's not what love is.
I'm not sure men think that. Men think that, but
I said it's about more notches you get on your belt. But I do think that some men do think that it is a part.
Yeah. There are some men who think that. Let me ask you this: body count, right? Do you think body count is a thing and it should be taken into consideration?
By the time you're 40 and 50, what the heck? Why would you ask a woman or even ask a man a body count by the time you're a certain age?
Well, I mean, not even just it has nothing to do with a 40 plus. It's just period.
I don't think that's important. I think what's important is, do you have any sexually transmitted diseases? Do you have any health issues? Are you into things that are not things like, are you into choking people and tying them up? I think there are more important things to be asking someone that you're dating versus how many men you slept with or how many women that you slept with. I mean, really? If you're asking me that, I'm getting it from the table, whatever we're doing, and I'm leaving. Like, what kind of question is that?
Well, okay. Well, here's the reason I asked that, because studies show that a woman who has more than 5 bodies has a harder time pair bonding after that, and her chances of sustaining a long-term relationship drop dramatically after the more body she has under her, I guess you could say. Which is why you probably
8 generations, because my God, I guess everybody that was in a peace love era that smoked weed and slept with everybody, I guess ain't none of them married. Those are the boomers. I mean, come on, really?
Yeah, no, that this is a study that shows that women because what happens is a woman finds probably a guy who maybe, I guess you could say, turn her out, so to speak. And then she has a harder time pair bonding with other men after that. And her ability to pair bond with a guy after that diminishes tremendously, because with more partners, see, women are very, very decisive with what they like. Okay. If they like a guy who, pull chairs out, open doors, she's going to like that about him, and he's going to be the best at that. If a woman sees a man who, is good in the bedroom, she's going to pick him out for that. If a woman sees a man with a lot of money, she's going to pick him out with that. And what ends up happening is it's a high that she continues to chase for the rest of her life, as far as the perfect man. I want a man who was Tyrone in the bedroom, Benjamin with the wallet, Dexter with the courtesy and things like that. And you can kind of tell that happens because the older women get, the higher their expectations get of a man, right? The older they get, the more they ask for men. So this is a proven thing, that when women see something that they like, they stamp that in their brain, and then they search for that high for the rest of their life. That's why body count matter, because it tells you how many men that she pretty much surrendered to, and it also gives you a level of the men you're going to be competing with in her past. Okay, you're gonna have to be a Superman or Jesus in order to even pair bond with this woman, because she has way too many partners. And this is why a lot of older women aren't with anybody right now, because a lot of them have their expectations so high that they're still trying to pick out a perfect man, and they don't exist.
Well, first of all, let me correct you. A lot of older women are divorced. So that has nothing to do with it. You're talking about women that have been married maybe 10, 15, and some maybe even 20 years. So that's not even it. It's just that, after you've been married for a certain period of time and the spouse dies or you get a divorce, some of those women have chosen that they don't want to be married anymore. It's just what it is. I think that's ridiculous. I think what you're saying basically is, I don't know what the science or what science that you read on that, or what research that you read on that. Again, I think it just simply depends on who you are as an individual. I mean, there are a lot of people that practice celibacy. They practice celibacy because they don't want to engage in sexual activities anymore, or they practicing celibacy because that's a choice that they've made, because they have to work on themselves. They're practicing celibacy because they've been hurt. And so, I mean, to just say body, I just think this is ridiculous. I'm not really into that, because I think that, again, at a certain age, you should not be those are not the type of questions that you're asking someone of a certain age. It's expected that my God, if we ask the women that were born, the men that were born back then during the free love, sex, John Lennon days, you know how many men and women those people slept with? They were sleeping with everybody. But what does that have to do with anything? I just think that's not a relevant question to be asking anybody on a date. I don't care how many women you slept with. What I care about is if you're carrying anything, and if you're bisexual, and if you're into some things that I'm not interested in. I mean,
Right.
I'm not asking those types of questions because
Right.
I don't care.
Well, when I will say this, it is a bit different from women to men, and men don't, for the most part, men don't carry torches for their past relationships with women, and they don't have their new woman compete with their past women. I can get with somebody right now today, and I won't reference them to none of my exes. All I take is my experiences and learning lessons, but I don't hold torches for any of the women in my past. Women tend to hold torches for their men in their past, and they take things that they like and they compare that to the future men. That is the difference between the men.
I don't know. Again, I don't know. Okay, there are outliers in every group of people and every age range of people, but I don't know any women that do that. That's why I'm just kind of confused by this, because.
So you don't have a guy in your past that you said he laid it down the best. And
At 50 something, I don't have those type of conversations. What I'm looking for at 50 something is not what I'm looking for in my 20s.
Yeah, I'm not saying you have those conversations. I'm just saying that mentally in your subconscious, you probably hold a torch. And it's normal. It's not a knock, because a lot of women do it.
You can't hold something mentally in your subconscious, because then it does not allow you to move forward, and it does not allow you to bring to you what you're looking for. And I'm not sincerely saying that. I'm not saying that as women, we don't get together and say, girl, when I was 25 or when I was married. I'm not saying we don't get together and have those kind of conversations, but we don't walk around and say, ooh, I'm in my 50s and I'm looking for that man that turned me out when I was 25. No, because our needs change as we get older. It doesn't mean that sex is not important, but we're not looking for somebody to turn us out when we're 50s and homeowners and businesses. And it's so different. I'm not saying.
Have you ever heard the term cougar before?
Yeah, but those are women that have money and that are doing their thing, and that's what they choose to do.
And they're cougars, and they're
well, who gave them
they normally date younger guys. But why? Why are they dating younger guys?
And you don't want to have that conversation with me. But who gave them that term? Men are the ones that gave women that term. Women didn't give ourselves. We just call ourselves cougars. Men gave us that term.
but the point is, regardless of the term, what are they chasing?
They're not chasing anything.
Well, they only prefer a certain age of men.
Be
They only
careful.
prefer a certain age of men. They don't prefer men their own age. So what are they chasing?
Okay, let me tell you something. So this is the bottom line. I'm going to speak because I was with a group of women this past weekend, and we had that little conversation. First of all, I'm going to preface this in the right way, because it's unfair to say all. First of all, we all have our level of sexual desires, or where we find ourselves sexually as we get older in life. Most of the women that I know that are in their 50s are women that are very healthy, that still have very healthy sex drives. Their husbands are either deceased or they are divorced. That's just the reality. One of my girlfriends, she would have been married almost 40 years or something like that. We were talking about the other day. The fact of the matter is, and let's just look at it from a scientific and a research standpoint, most African American men do not take care of themselves. From the fact that they need colon exams, to the fact of their diet, to the fact of their exercise. So therefore, most women that are in their 50s plus, that are physically fit, and even women in their 40s that are physically fit, that are still active, or still doing things, and still enjoy life, they would prefer to be with a man their own age. However, most men in that age bracket do not take care of themselves. So they have problems such as ED. They have problems such as high blood pressure, diabetes. They don't exercise. They don't want to do nothing. They don't want to go nowhere. And we don't want to be bothered with that. Hence, some of us prefer to date younger men for that very reason.
Okay, fair enough. Let me ask you a question. Are you familiar with Priscilla, the Queen Maker?
Yeah, I've watched a couple of her TikTok videos. Yeah.
What do you think about her?
I think she's offering a different perspective. She's not everybody's cup of tea, and that's fair. I've heard things like she's a male basher, she hates men, this, that. From what I gathered, I don't see that, because number one, I learned that she has a military background. One of her mentors was a male. I think she has a couple of brothers. She used to play sports. And so she spent a lot, from what I gathered, she spent a lot of her time around males. And because she spent a lot of her time around males, she believes that she has an inside view on how men think. Now, that's not my place to say if she does or she doesn't. She feels that she has that inside view. Some of the things that she says I like, and then other things I leave it there. I mean, so it's like, for me, it's like same thing with Kevin Samuels. You either like some of the things that he said or you don't. You take it what you like and the rest you leave. And that's kind of like how I feel about her. I did not find her to be male bashing. What I found her to be doing is to empower women and say, hey, women, look, men are like this, this, and this. And this is who they are. This is what they do. You can take it or leave it. That's how I gathered it. Now, other people say things differently. Hey, it's all in your perspective of it.
Well, one of the things that she said, and this is pretty much a quote of hers, is that men suck the life out of women, but women give life to men. What
do you think she meant by that?
I'm asking you, because I don't know. What do you think she thought about that? Just the way it sounds, men suck the life out of women, but women give life to men. What is your interpretation of what she meant by that? And this wasn't necessarily tied to any type of context. It was just something she just blurted out, almost as if it was a talking point that she had in her mind. She just blurted it out in that order. Men suck the life out of women, but women give life to men.
I think that you
Could that be considered male bashing in some kind of way?
I'm not, I'm not going to say that it's male bashing. What I will say is that I can see, I see that in a lot of ways. And one of the ways that I look at that is based on how we choose our mates, what mates that what the type of men or the type of women that because that the type of men that women choose. That's why I said to you initially is you decide if you're going to participate based upon, the type of love a person shows you. And I think for her, maybe what she's saying is that, you have some women that will date a man that she absolutely knows is not the right man for her, but she thinks in her mind she can change him. And so he's sucking the life out of her. And she's giving and giving and giving and being supportive and giving and giving and giving and being supportive. And he's just sucking the life out of her. And so I see it that way in terms of the types of partners that we choose to pair up with, that a man can, or, she working a 9 to 5 and he's sitting at home playing video games. And she walked through the door. He said, "What's to eat?" After she'd been on the job dealing with the man all day. So I look at that in a lot of ways. I see that quote in a lot of ways. And for me, it all goes back to, I choose how I'm going to participate based upon how you love me. And if you are beating me down and calling me names and abusing me, then you're sucking the life out of me. And I have to choose whether or not I'm going to stay in that relationship.
Is it possible for a man to get the life sucked out of him by a woman and him give life to a woman? Is that possible?
I think that when I think about that second half of that, I'm wondering if she is referring to the fact that women bring life into the world, that we birth babies. And so
I don't think so, because if that were the case, it would be reversed. I mean, not to be, derogatory or nothing, but women would, anyway, never mind.
I don't think that's a tricky one, because I just think it depends on how you interpret that.
Women could suck the life out of men, but that's a different story.
I think I think we can suck the life. I mean, it goes both ways. I mean, again,
right. Which is what I was saying. It could be something that can be done both ways, and a lot of times men feel that women do that, especially when they take them to court a lot of times and have the court suck the resources out of the man and try and destroy him, call the police on him for no reason, or take him to court and sue. I seen one episode where a woman sued a guy for child support and spousal support because she wanted to suck the life out of this guy, and she was not giving, and she was best friends with his so-called mistress. So how can you be best friends with his mistress, but you want double child support along with spousal support? It was, anyway. There was another quote that she said, and let me know what you think about this. She said, "Men are incapable of love."
So for another thing, men are incapable of love. They incapable of it. So how the
men are incapable of love. Another one of her talking points. Men are incapable of love. What are your thoughts?
I'm not going to say that men are incapable of love. I would say that men have not been taught how to love. And I say that because we live in a society which is based on violence. Everything is violence, and is teaching men, you shouldn't cry, you need to be tough, you need to be aggressive. And so I think that men have not been taught how to love. I think men understand. I think the first teacher of love is a man's mother. And if a mother does not, and I'm not talking about coddling a boy and not raising him properly, but if a mother is always screaming and yelling and she doesn't show gentleness and kindness, then I think sometimes it can have a impact on a child. I think there's a poem by Marion Williams that talks about if you show a child kindness, then that child will know how to love. So I think it's not that men are incapable of loving. I think men have not been taught how to love. And the first teacher of that is a mother.
So if men are incapable of love or don't know how to love, like you said, whose fault is that?
I just said the first teacher of that is mother.
So it's the women.
the
So
women.
why was she
The society, it's also the way that the society is teaching men how to be. It's also that part too. So we cannot just simply.
Well, they're the second teachers. They're not the first teachers. The first teachers will bypass the second teachers. That's if there's someone dropped the ball in the first place.
Yes. I mean, because we've all seen it. We've all seen, women out in public and on movies, stop crying like a little bitch and you're a punk ass. We've seen it. We've seen how, sometimes unfortunately, some mothers talk to their sons. We've seen sons see mothers, on drugs, or mothers have men coming in. So I think the first teacher of love is a woman. It is a mother. Are there exceptions? Absolutely. You can have a woman that is nurturing and loving, and her son can still turn out to be an a-hole. So I mean,
that's true. That's true. You can still turn out to be that, and you can have some who don't show him love. I mean, she could say she loved him all day, but she don't show him love. Exactly. And he can turn out that way too. And that unfortunately, that's the case a lot of times in our community.
I wouldn't say that's what I would say. I wouldn't say that's. I mean, I'm not criticizing anything that she says, but what I would argue with her, and I would say, I don't think men are. I wouldn't agree that men are not capable of love. I think that men have not been shown how to love, because some men
have not been shown love.
Some men are not emotionally available, but women, and then that's when women come in. They trying to change them. They trying to show that man that they love him, that they're there for him. But if a man has not been shown love, then he's incapable of loving.
Right, but that's when it comes to that nurturing part, and that nurturing part, especially in our community, is lacking. Which is why that's something that men expect out of their women, is to nurture. And when you're not nurturing neither the boys, and you're in competition with your girls, then nobody is shown love, and they don't even know how to teach it when they become mothers, the girls. So for her to make that blanket statement, I thought was interesting, that men are incapable. I highly disagree with that. I got love for a lot of people. I got love for a lot of people. So and I'm very capable of that. But what I find is that not just myself, but a lot of men may even feel like there are utilities to be used by everybody. Well, and I mean their spouse, I mean their kids, I mean by everybody. And shown little appreciation, by the way, come Father's Day or whatever. Or a lot of the women try to steal that holiday away from the men. They try to steal.
And I both, you've known me long enough that I don't buy into that Mother's Day, Father's Day, Valentine's Day.
It happens though.
Their commercialism, but I think these are my thoughts on that, Mike. I think our children are raised in a society where everything is about violence and masculinity, and you got to do this, you got to do that. And anytime a man is soft or gentle, the first thing that someone says, oh, he must be gay. So we're dealing with that too. So we have to also take ownership for a lot of this crap that's going on in our communities with men and women and how we interact with one another. The first teacher is the mother. The first, nobody can tell me anything differently. The first teacher is the mother. And if a mother is having certain standards for a girl and certain standards for a boy, then it creates that the male begins to feel that he can do certain things and the girl can't do certain things. For example, my mom was 91 when she passed away. My mother never, let me tell you something, she never told us that she loved us. But I knew that what I mean by that, she would never say, I love you, or she would never say, I'm proud of you. She showed us that she loved us and she was proud of us by a roof over her head, clothes on her back, and food on the table. That was her definition of saying, I love you. And even when we got older, meaning my brothers and sisters and I, and we would say, I love you, Mom, she would struggle to get out, I love you, because that was foreign to her. So for that very example that I'm using, for an African-American community, sometimes that's very foreign. because our parents didn't do it. However, I was smart enough, I was intelligent enough to know that when I had my own child, I was going to change the dynamic. I tell my son when he gets up, mommy loves you. When he goes to school, I love you. When he does something good, I love him. When he does something bad, I love you. I tell him all the time, because I recognize the importance of saying to my son, I love you.
Mm-hmm.
I have no doubt in my mind that my mother loved me, but she showed her love differently.
Mm-hmm.
By food, clothing, shelter. The words did not come out of her mouth, but I recognize that food, clothing, and shelter, just part of it. But validating my son by using words of affirmation is another part of it. Some of us don't know that. And that's why I said it's all about what I said to you earlier. By the time you're 40 and you're in your 50s, if you don't know what you want in a relationship, you should not be dating, because you should have lived long enough and experienced quite a few things to know what it is that you're going to participate in, as Sister Iyana says.
Yeah. And I agree with that. The only thing is, I think the older you get, the higher your expectations are, and even the more unrealistic your expectations.
Unrealistic. Why
You're
are
not
you
at your peak level of what some would consider the sexual marketplace. And
unrealistic? You keep wanting to make this thing about physical attributes, and most women that I know that are in their 50s, we're looking for companionship. We're not looking for somebody that got something hanging down to their knees and they got a six-pack, nor are we looking to be the nurse with the purse. I mean, so it's about a balance. We're not looking for some man that's getting ready to die over, or he can't perform, or he got diabetes. Who wants to deal with that?
yeah, I agree. I'm not suggesting that women
So
take
when you
men
keep
who
saying
have certain.
unrealistic expectations, I don't really know what you mean by that, because none of the women that I run around with are looking for those types of things. I mean,
Well,
I
I
was married
think
for
that
10
there
years,
are
15, and I'm divorced. So I'm very clear about what it is that I'm looking for after being married for 15 years.
here's how I view it, and you can correct me if you think I'm wrong. Okay, when women are in their, let's just say, starting in their 20s and 30s, they expect the world out of a man. Okay, and then when they get in their 40s, they start to uh ask less of men, maybe even become cougars, because they're looking for something else. They're looking to sow some oats and try to capture their youth. And then when they get back in their 60s, they go back to expecting a lot out of a man, open doors, this, that, and the third. So there is a cycle. So there's high expectations when you're young and at your peak of sexual marketplace. Then when you start to see your looks fade and stuff, you start to ask less of men. And then when you get older, you then start to go back up and start asking for a lot more things, because by that time you are I wouldn't say you're hurt or damaged, but I would say that you're just seen a lot of life, and you know some of the things that you like and don't like. But the only problem with that is that you're not at that peak or your SMV no more. So S&P. So your ask are the same as when you were in your 20s, but your marketplace is not the same. You can't have kids, which is something that men value, believe it or not. Youth, not just fertility, but cooperation. There's an innocence with younger women, things like that, and you don't have that. So it becomes unrealistic for what you're asking for in your 50s and 60s and up.
It's the innocence with younger women because, number one, they haven't lived long enough, and number two, younger women, some can't spot the bullshit. When you're older, you spot bullshit. So it's like when you say those types of things, you act like 50-year-old women are like 90 years old. That we walking around, we got bags under our eyes.
I never said that.
There's quite a few 50 plus women that got it going on. I mean, so I don't really know.
I'm not saying that they don't have it going on. That's not where I'm going. What I'm saying is they're not at their highest S&P, right?
Why do you think highest? What I mean, I don't understand what you're saying.
Well, what I'm saying is that a lot of times when women are in their 50s and 60s, they earn a certain amount of money. They probably have a bag. They probably have an established career, and but they're still not at their peak. Okay, they're not. They're just not at their peak. Okay, they were
You
at their
say
peak in their
peak, what do
20s,
you mean?
but their
Sexual peak?
ask a lot of time is the same as what it was in their 20s.
You talking about sexual peak?
Yes.
Who told you that? That's when we're peaking the most.
That's when when you're in your 40s and you become that cougar and you're peaking the most.
We're not. I mean,
But after the whole peak, after the whole, I'm talking about after the peak, maybe even past menopause. Let's just go there. When you're hitting that menopausal time, your peak is not there no more. It heightens in your 40s and your 50s, but when you're in your 60s, it doesn't. When you hit that menopause, it's just not there no more. It just is what it is. However, your asks are still as if it's almost as if women don't understand the S&P. It's almost as if they don't understand that they're not as valuable to men as they were when they're at their most fertile. I'm just being real.
But who's going to be fertile at that point? At that
I'm
point,
not. We're not asking women to be fertile at that age. What I'm saying is, they still carry the same value as if they were at their highest S&P. Okay, and they're not, but their ask is just as much, if not more, than what they were at their 20s, because like you said, it come with a lot of experience and it come with a lot of life lessons, and they know what they like and know what they don't, but they don't realize that the things that they're asking for, a man is like, look, for all of that, I can just date younger. Okay, for the same ask that you're asking for, I can get that with less hassle with a younger girl. 20.
I don't know what 50-year-olds that you've been talking to, but half of the time we're not asking for anything that 20-year-olds are asking for. So I'm not really sure that I follow your train of thought on that. Because no.
Okay. All right. I'm delusional on that, and we'll leave it at that. But another thing that Priscilla said, one of her quotes was, "Women aren't born straight." She said it was a scientific study to show that women are not born straight. Are you straight? I'm just curious.
I'm not even going to entertain that. I'm not going to.
What she said. Now that this is her message to the world. Now, I thought it was ridiculous myself. Okay, I thought it was super ridiculous. I was like, "Are you serious?" As a matter of fact, I'm gonna see if I can find a clip and show it in this video.
With that being so, the first question would be: so you promote lesbianism for women, like leave the men alone and relieve yourself amongst women?
Well, here's the thing: they can do that too, because here's the thing: sexual energy is a creative energy. That energy belongs to the feminine, and scientific studies prove that ain't no such thing as a straight woman.
But that is what she said. Women aren't born straight, and it's pretty clear that she pretty much acknowledged that she's in a lesbian relationship.
Okay.
and that and things like that. I just thought I'd get your response on that.
I have no.
And she also said that all men think about is, sex.
I mean, you're a man, you would know. I'm not a man, so I don't know.
Okay. Yeah. So, and another thing I noticed is that she studied pimpology, Iceberg Slim, them.
Yeah, I read the books when I was a young woman. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. She studies pimpology. She has some friends who were pimps. At least that's what she said. And she also studies psychology. So, I guess I wanted your thoughts on her, because this is an up and rising star, I guess you could say, for women, and she was considered the female Kevin Samuels. Okay.
is what I would say to you, Mike. One of the things that I would suggest that you do as you continue to do this type of work is to always, keep in mind that each generation of women are different, and my generation of women are very different than the generation that will come after me and the generation that was before me, and so on and so forth. And there's always outliers within this. And so with her, maybe she is speaking to a particular group or particular type of women. Same thing with Kevin Samuels. He was speaking to a particular group or particular type of man. Everybody is not for everybody. She's not everybody's cup of tea, and neither was Kevin Samuels everybody's cup of tea. So I think that you take what you can take from what she adds, and if the shoe doesn't fit, you don't wear it. So, and that's kind of like how I feel. Like I said, I've listened to her couple videos and some of the stuff. I thought, oh, okay, that's interesting. And others, I was like, it's not for me. And it's not a right or wrong. It's just that if it's for you, it's for you. And if it isn't, it isn't. It's interesting because there are matrilineal societies in Africa and in Asia where women choose the men that they want to sleep with, and if once they are done with that particular man, you can look it up, there's research done on it. And once they are done with a particular man, they go on to the next. And the argument about that was that these were women that were they were sexual sapio women. They were intellectual women that were attractive to men for different reasons. Like maybe this one has humor, maybe this one was very good at his hands, and so women would choose who they were mate with. Same thing in certain African matrilineal, in particular in Gambia, it's a matrilineal society, and the women choose who they want to mate with and who they have children with. And so this whole next thing about women not being straight, I don't know. Listen, I just think sometimes people say and do things as shock factors. To get the attention that they need and pull people in, and people go, oh, and they get caught up into that. It's the same thing what we talked about earlier when you said, these women get in the bag, and a lot of this is attention seeking and shock factors. I take from what I think is interesting in what she says, and the rest, if I don't believe in it or I don't like it, I leave it.
Yeah.
Everybody ain't for everybody.
The reason I bring her up is because when Kevin Samuels started to get hot, women had an opinion about him, and they had no problem expressing their opinion about him. They thought he was misogynist and things like this. I actually think that Princella, the Queen Maker, is misandrous. I think a lot of the things that she say is absolutely ridiculous, biologically, scientifically, philosophically.
The things that she says, she has research to back some of the things that she says, which is
well,
quite
if she does have research, it is pseudoscience, because the whole notion that women are not born straight, and most women see.
Well, she doesn't believe in God. She doesn't believe in God. I think she said something. I think I heard, and I don't want to misquote it, but I think she said, God is a European construct. Well, God has existed since the beginning of time in Africa. Well, deities in African cultures. So, it's your belief system.
The reason she don't believe in God is because God is referred to as a male.
Well,
okay.
Well, she doesn't. Right, but
this is the highest level of misandry I have ever seen in my life.
See, that show, and I think I heard that. I think that shows a lack of knowledge, because if you really study the ancient texts, God is both male, female energy. It's both energies.
Well, I'm not arguing that point. I'm just saying I think I'm saying she rejects it mainly because he's referred to as a male, and she says straight out, I don't believe in your male God. I actually think that she wants to be the guy. Her name is Princella. Okay, first of all, she got Prince in her name. I think this woman really wants to be a male so bad. I think she has a lot of D envy. I said that in one of my videos. She has a lot of D envy. She studied pimpology. She has friends who are pimps. I think she preys on the psychology of women, and it's pretty disgusting if you ask me. because someone who studies pimpology and psychology and misleads women in the way that she does and teaches pretty much misandry is a detriment to the community. I'm not understanding why a lot of women are even falling for this, because I know there are a lot of intelligent women out there who can put one and one and make two together. Okay, but when you're listening to a self-proclaimed lesbian who pretty much says that the world would be better off if women just mated with each other. There are no straight females out there, and that the man is poisoning the women by having relations or intercourse, because his seed is toxic. They need to keep all of their energy to themselves and keep it gets to a point where, I mean, she's really just teaching lesbianism.
I mean, we're living in those times, okay? And I think the unfortunate thing is that instead of us trying to think about how we can come together and build and rebuild our communities as African American or people or Black folks, people of color, we're constantly tearing one another down in terms of relationships. I mean, why do you think? I mean, it's this. They built fertility clinics in the affluent white communities, and they have abortion clinics in the Black communities. Why is that? I mean, it's like we're not talking about things that can build us as a people. We're talking about how to tear one another down, and it's counterproductive, and it's basically fulfilling the goals of the powers that be. The white man, that's what he wants.
Right, exactly. And I said that the white men that are watching her are just laughing and laughing because she's doing their work. And she is a big critic of not only God, but Sister Shahrazad Ali, Kevin Samuels. All of these people who were trying to bring the Black community together as a family, as a unit. Okay. Yes. Sister Shahrazad Ali was on that mission. Kevin Samuel was on that mission. Her mission is division.
Well, the thing that's very interesting in all of this, I think that there's a time and a season for everything. And I guess this is just like it was Kevin Samuel's time and season. I guess this is her time and season. The unfortunate thing is that you don't have anyone in the middle. I mean, it was very disheartening when Sister Iyanla Vanzant stepped down, because she was probably the only sister that was trying to really get Black women, or just Black women and Black men, to see that our toxic behavior towards one another is the reason why we can't move forward in relationships. She was trying to do the work to get us to heal, and there's nobody doing the work that's trying to get us to heal. Everybody's pitting us, you're pitting men against women and women against men. It's ridiculous,
right? And that's what I loved about Iyanla Vanzant too. She was another pioneer in that. Her Sister Shahrazad Ali, Kevin Samuel, all of them were about unity and togetherness. This woman is about division. Her and another woman named what's her name, Cynthia G or something like that.
Yeah.
They're dividers. But what bothers me is that
the other. You need the both.
Right, but what bothers me is that they have such strong followings within the male community. Now, if there was a male who was talking about all no man is born straight, and we should all just be with each other, this brother would have no followings. If he did the same thing and he talked division amongst the women, he would have no followers. There would be nobody promoting homosexuality among the men and blow up the way that these two sisters did. So it puzzles me. Why do you think that is, that men can't come out and do the same thing that these women are doing, and why do these women have such a strong following?
The only thing that comes to mind when I think about all of this is that I think I heard Brother Rizzo say today, we just simply don't know who we are. We've lost our way.
Hmm.
And when you lose your way, you're bound to fall for anything. And I think that's what's happening. We're falling for any new thing that comes along. That's what we gravitate towards. And those of us that are old dinosaurs, I mean, we're dying off. That generation that stood up and said that's unacceptable behavior is dying off. People are minding their business. You're not having people engage in stuff anymore. And I think that's what's going on. It's just
Right.
people, it's just people have lost their way, and people have just lost their way, and that's what I think it is. It's just
Right. Yeah.
it's unfortunate that it is the way that it is, but that's what it is.
Yeah. 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 I've noticed that too. I think that, well, let me ask you, because what is the single most thing that you think contributed to the downfall of sustainable, not just marriages, but sustainable marriages in the West? Is it the men? Is it the women, or is it society, or is it technology? What is the main source, and how do you think that we can regain that, and kind of get control of that to right the ship, so to speak, and make sustainable marriages a more popular and more desirable thing? What is the cause that it's not, and what can we do to fix that, you think?